Hello, you lovely listeners. I'm Amy. Welcome to the Really Good Conversations podcast, where we will delve into the minds of the business people we have met in the process of launching our first card game. We will be uncovering their secrets to success, their biggest mistakes, and sharing the key lessons they have picked up en route. So, if you're looking for an engaging chinwag mixed with business insights and a good pinch of fun, you're in the right place. Let's have a really good conversation. Welcome to the Really Good Conversations podcast. Today I have the fabulous Lisa Hollinshead joining us. She is a PR specialist who has had a career spanning the UK and Australia. Founder of Social101.com, a lifestyle publishing platform, and co-founder of OneAnother, a social enterprise on a mission to reduce loneliness and connect the world through volunteering. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me. There's obviously a lot that we could talk about through your career and expertise. But the thing I really was keen to chat to you about today is OneAnother and what you're doing in the space of human connection. So can you tell us a little bit about what OneAnother is and how it got started?
Yeah, absolutely. So OneAnother actually started 4 years ago, which is just crazy to think about. I'd been through a tech accelerator for another startup, and through validation realised that perhaps wasn't the right mission or the right solution. So I departed from that and went to Berlin on a media for film. And this was around about March in 2020. It was around about the time that the bottom fell out of the world. So I found my circumstances. I was stranded in Spain with my little boy, and all the flights were cancelled. I didn't know how I was going to get home. And me being the way that I am, I was just thinking, what's going to happen? You know, the world is such an unknown entity right now, and there's going to be so many people that are lonely and alone. So I'm the kind of person that likes to keep myself busy. So I put a shout out to the Sydney startup community. And I guess the short version of a long story is that 250 people reached out to my call out to create a kindness platform, to do a hackathon to create a kindness platform. And over the course of 6 months, those 250 people donated over 20,000 hours to help build this kindness platform, which essentially is like Airtasker, but fueled by acts of kindness. So we're driving the good human economy, and OneAnother is a platform where people want to connect and give back in a way that empowers them. It's doing really well. We have lots of connections taking place on the platform. And it's super exciting to think that we're building something that's actually, doing some good for society and communities across Australia as well.
Wow, that's amazing. And when I was looking up about when you started Social 101, you just come from the UK to Sydney, you didn't really have an idea of where to go out and things to do in Sydney. So you obviously got on and created a whole platform around that. So clearly you've got this, shall we say, whether it's an instinct or this drive in you, that when you kind of come up against a problem, you set out to fix it. You set out to think, right, for example, when Sydney 2009, where's the to go, what there's to do? So I'm going to actually, use all your skills and actually create something. In this instance, back in March 2020, almost what spurred you on to think, okay, I'm actually going to do this, real concern about loneliness in the community and thinking, right, we can make something, versus thinking, actually, prioritize self.
Yeah, no, it was more the case of, I was with my granny who was 89 at the time, and I felt really fortunate that she had my mum and my stepdad there to keep her company. Like, she can't drive, she wouldn't have been able to, walk to the nearest supermarket. So it was through my own family's good fortune and luck that spurred me to support those that didn't have that.
Mm,
And then when I put this call out to the community, it was like the perfect storm, for want of a better description, of where people were displaced from their jobs. Graduates couldn't get their first foot on the ladder because there was a pandemic sweeping the globe, and people just were brought together by a sense of combined purpose. So I felt indebted to those people that had donated all these hours and all of their skill set and $1 million worth of value in
mm,
time to help create this platform as part of a collective. I felt it was my duty to carry that, I guess, that flag on, to
mm.
make sure that, their time and effort and my time and effort continue to help those around us, which is what the purpose was that was spurring us on all along.
Wow. And how's the journey changed for one another over the last 4 years? So obviously propelled by a pandemic, we've obviously now in some sort of normal life. How has the platform and how has things changed along the way?
Yeah, they've changed quite a lot. And I think with any startup, people set off with an idea and they'll start to build it. And then they have this laser focus in the head of what they think, the platform should be, or what the solution or product should be. Whereas I think it's really important to get that feedback, to constantly get
Mm.
feedback from the people that are using the platform. And I've definitely done that from the beginning. So 2 years into our One Another journey, I guess, as myself and Adam Heaney as the CTO, we created this beautiful platform that was working, and we just weren't getting the engagement that we assumed that we would. So serendipitously, I ended up meeting my now co-founder, Christopher Ingate, who is just a wonderful human, and we met in such a crazy way. We met on a webinar, linked in with each other. He was based in Austin, Texas, and another long story short, we connected, realized his family lived in the suburb next to me in Manly, and yeah, it just kind of like was the meeting of two worlds. We joined forces, we rebuilt the platform based on all the feedback that we got, and now we've actually realized that there's a real pain point problem with corporates providing
Mm.
their workforce with volunteer leave days, which is great, right? It feeds into ESG goals and reporting against how their corporate social responsibility initiatives are taking force. And it attracts new talent, right? So it's a great initiative for these corporates to offer these days volunteering leave. But the problem is there's no accountability and there's no
Mm.
internal process that's really driving the accountability and uptake of these days. So we've realized that One Another is perfectly placed to provide a tool to corporates to mobilize their workforce to give back in a way that suits them. And they can use our original proprietary tech, which was the marketplace that connects people with opportunities and peers to give back. So yeah, we're focusing very much on the corporate social responsibility space, and it's a new area for us. We've developed a software as a service dashboard, which we're incredibly proud of. And yeah, I guess that's the new chapter now. It's almost like we're 4 years in, but now we're back at day one, which is kind of cool.
Wow. That sounds, yeah, such a perfect alignment because yeah, the reality that companies can say, "Oh, we offer volunteer days," but then in reality, people either have to go and find them themselves, or there might never be a good time to really take them, as well. And then that you feel, if somebody internally is quite passionate to want to do the volunteering, but if other people and managers aren't as aligned, it's like, oh yes, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, there's a real problem when it comes to like I mentioned, the painkiller problem. I really want to emphasize that it is a painkiller problem. There's the analogy of the painkiller versus the vitamin, and a lot of organizations think that only 1 in 10 volunteering leave days being utilized. You know what? It's not really that much of a problem. Like, we're offering it if people choose not to utilize it or they can't utilize it because they're too busy. That's not really our problem, and we'll wipe it at the end of the year.
Mm,
What's happening is that workforce are becoming increasingly frustrated that it's almost like lip service. They're being offered these volunteer leave days, and there's no support system in place to help them, secure an opportunity and then actually be able to take the time to do it. And what's happening is yeah, workforces are losing, sorry, organizations are losing really, really great talent because they're not
Mm.
following through. They're talking the talk, but they're not walking the walk.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people would love to give time voluntarily, but often it is then finding the time to do it if they have perhaps work commitments, family commitments. Unfortunately, for many, it then perhaps comes down, down the pile of a bit of a nice to have.
Absolutely. And we don't see it as a nice to have. We know that when you do good, you feel good. And as part of the tech that we're also building at the moment, we're building a volunteer passport. So basically, when you go into volunteering opportunities, the onboarding system is so laborious. You have to upload your working with children check, your police check very often, providing references. So we're creating the One Another hub, which essentially holds all of that documentation so we can remove that barrier to entry and just make it easier for
Mm.
people to give back and connect.
And for you as the, I guess, original visionary, how did you feel about needing to change direction? So, you touched on that some people are very fixed on, oh, it has to be this is a thing I'm creating. And often, yeah, it's the founders that are holding that vision.
Yeah.
But how did you feel coming along the journey and realizing, okay, actually, after the 2 years, we need to change that direction?
I think for me, because I've been through the She Starts Blue Chili Accelerator previously, and through that, we did a lot of validation, a lot of market fit opportunity analysis, and did a lot of feedback. I had been trained, I think, with the tools to understand that it's your customer that will lead you on the path. If you're directing that path and telling them where to go, you're setting yourself up for failure. So, because through building One Another, we constantly have had that feedback loop, not only from the pro bono volunteers that helped to build it, then providing the advice and the feedback and doing the user testing, making sure that what we're building actually worked. We've also asked the people that use it as well. So for me, even though I guess you could say pivoting towards that corporate space, we'll always have that marketplace at the core functionality of our product because that's the heart of what we do. It's just that we now have other ways that people can access that marketplace to do good in their community. And it was a no-brainer to go to the corporates and help mobilize their workforces because it is a pain killer problem that only 10% of these days are being utilized, and we know that people want to volunteer, they're just struggling to get involved with it. So it felt like a natural progression and one that we're really comfortable with, and we know that it is resonating as well, which obviously you get that validation that way as well.
Yeah. And it's just so important. I think, obviously we're passionate about that human interaction, that human communication and connection. And, you can see everything that you're doing. It's equally championing that and bringing that human connection back to the forefront. You highlight on your website, it's a basic need of life as humans to connect with others.
Absolutely. We're tribes people by nature.
So, what are some of the challenges that you and the team have faced on the journey with One Another so far?
So, as with any startup or any business, that there has been problems that have arisen throughout that journey, and every single time something has come up, it's knocked us onto the right path. I firmly believe that. So, one of the ones at the beginning is when we were working with solely pro bono professionals. At one point, we had about 20 developers working for us, and they were developing the platform using Firebase and React, which are obviously code building platforms supported by AWS. And whilst it was absolutely wonderful that we had these amazing 20 developers from such incredible backgrounds and portfolios building our website in kind, because they were working in silo and they weren't working as a collective, they would build something incredible, and then a new person would come in and they'd break a branch of the code and it'd all fall down. And we kept getting so close to having the app built, and then something would break, and it was incredibly frustrating. But at the same time, these people were working for us in kind. It wasn't their fault. It was just the way that it was managed. We didn't have a scrum master. And through a very long and laborious process, through a lot of tears and frustration, we decided to pivot to a no-code platform using Bubble. So Adam Heaney, who was our CTO at the time, came in and built from the ground up in Bubble using our wires from Figma. And that ended up being the biggest blessing ever, because now we have this incredible platform that's built in Bubble that we can be really agile with. We can make
Mm.
changes really quickly. And yeah, that's one. At the beginning, it didn't seem like we were going to be able to get over it. And it was like, do we throw the towel in? This isn't working. But it pushed us into such an amazing direction that honestly, I think if we hadn't have explored no code, one another would nowhere near be anywhere where it even close to where it is now.
Wow. Now, as I mentioned in your intro, there's quite a few things you have going on, in your career and in your work. How do you manage the different businesses that you're involved in?
My background is publicity. That's kind of like my bread and butter. I've worked for some of the biggest agencies in the world. And recently, my agency's turned 10 years old. So my PR agency's turned 10 years old. And agency is somewhat misleading. It's me running a business and bringing in support as and when I need it on specific projects, which is how the
Mm,
organization works best, I guess. But recently, I've made the decision to work with brands and products and people that are led by intention to do good. So every
mm,
single one of my clients, I have a litmus test prior. Are they doing good? Are they servicing an unmet need? Yeah, is their intention pure, essentially? And that's the prerequisite for working with us, which is really
mm,
empowering. And then, as you mentioned, yeah, Social 101. And I hadn't until recently put the links together that, yes, the two businesses that I started, Social 101 and OneAnother, are all about connecting people
mm.
and bringing people together. I was like, oh, there is a theme that runs through what I've done. And yeah, Social 101, we've got a team of about 25 writers. We've had over 100 writers over the last 15 years. And yeah, it's a for want of a better description, a portal where people can go and find out places to drink, eat, party, explore, adventure, that are new to Sydney, that want to explore it like a local.
Fantastic. You've got an extensive background in the world of PR. So, what tips or watch outs would you give to businesses who are looking to do more in the PR space to promote their brand or service?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I feel like it's one that I probably would be able to answer with any sort of conviction. And it's something that I come back to all the time. And it's like, what are your motivations through working with a publicist, through working with a PR agency? What are your objectives that you're hoping to achieve? And it boils back down every single time to authenticity. You know, what is the story that you want to tell? Why are you wanting to tell it? And what are you hoping will come out of that
Mm,
storytelling? And it all centers around storytelling as well. So if there is a business that's looking to get more traction, get more awareness, or if they're a startup looking to get more pieces of coverage on the board so that they can seem more desirable to investors, for example,
mm,
I just ask them to really dig deep and look at to what is the story that they're wanting to tell, and are they wanting to tell it from a genuine standpoint? And if that the answer to both of those is yes, I'd say PR absolutely is the way forward. People are seeing through smoke and mirrors so much more these
mm.
days, and yeah, storytelling from the heart and authenticity are at the core of everything. So they're the first two questions I'd say to ask. And if you know what the response is, or you know what your objective is, then reach out.
Very handy, thank you. And how on earth did you manage communication with all the people who were taking part in those early years?
It was interesting because I'd been through an accelerator previously, and but bearing in mind this was pre-pandemic, so this was pre people working from home. Everybody was in the
Mm,
office, like that was standard. But through the accelerator that I was doing, there were some of the cohort members that were based interstate, so we used Zoom and Slack and Trello and Airtable as our tools to connect as the collective, as part
mm,
of this cohort of female founders. So when I founded OneAnother, we had people in America, Canada, France, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, but Samoa. I think we had, like, it was insane. We had people everywhere. So the way that we kept the collective together, Slack was the main channel that we
Mm.
used. So Slack enabled us all to connect. We did daily 10-minute stand-ups at a certain time using Zoom at the time, which wasn't used by a lot of people. So
Yeah.
Zoom was kind of like our proprietary, like how we connected with each other. And then we used Asana. So then in our different, I guess, teams. So we had like the UX and UI team. They had their Airtable, Asana workflow, and then the PR and marketing team would have their Asana workflow or Trello board. So yeah, it was very much Figma, Slack, Zoom, and Trello, I'd say, were our main tools to ensure that we remained a collective throughout.
Wow, that is a great insight, because a lot of the businesses that we speak to on this podcast are predominantly physical product-based businesses. And I think it's just great to just get an insight from,
Mm-hmm.
in the different industry where it is a tech product and everyone is, a lot of everyone's done things remotely and
Mm,
there's less of a tangible thing that is getting perhaps, manufactured elsewhere and everything. Um, well, thank you so much for
yeah.
sharing those insights and the journey of one another so far. I can't wait to see what you guys have got on the horizon, because obviously what you've achieved already has just been so inspiring, and yeah, really is amazing. Now, obviously, what I like to
Thank
ask
you.
all of our guests is some questions from our really good conversations pack. So I've pulled you out some from our first edition pack. And I thought, as this was, I'd say, slightly inspired by your grandmother, question number one: what is your favorite memory of your grandparents?
Ah, there's so many. When I think about my grandparents, like it honestly like makes my heart shine, and it's so nice that I've got that feeling because when I lost them, like, well, yeah, when you lose your grandparents, it's such an awful period of time, and I wasn't able to think about them without getting upset. Whereas now, I've changed my I guess my neurological pathways to be like just remembering all the good times. And my granny and granddad on my mum's side basically like brought me up. Like my mum was a single mum, like worked a lot of hours, and my favorite memories are just like my granddad picking me up from school, my granny having tea on the table, like just everyday life. Like I cherish those moments so much. And I honestly feel like I had the best childhood because obviously my mum and dad are wonderful and I can always say good things about them, but my granny and granddad, like I'm just grateful for them being who they are, who they were.
Oh, that's lovely. I do remember I used to love when my grandmother would pick me up from school, which one meant I didn't have to get the school bus that was, at least 45 minutes back to where I live. But she'd always
Yeah.
have, it used to be a miniature pork pie and a drink. And then it would be also pear drops as well, a bag of pear drops. So I was like, awesome. One, I'm getting picked up from school and she's bringing snacks. This is the best.
Yeah. Oh, it's the best. My granddad used to like, how people say like dad's taxi. Like my granddad was the one that like basically drove me and all my friends around everywhere. Because my dad used to work away for like 9 months of the year. So yeah, like all the lovely things that they do, like picking you up from school and running you around to your friend's house. For me, it's just like so special that they were able to do that.
Oh, that's so sweet. Question number two: describe yourself using only 3 words.
Ooh, that's a good one. 3 words. I would say that there's a lot of words people could use to describe me. But I would say it's 4 words, but I would say like I'm always ready to go. Like, and I know it doesn't have to be like consecutive words, but I just feel like I'm that kind of person. Like I'm always say yes. I'm a person that always says yes in positive ways. I'm always up for adventure. I'm always want to take on a challenge, but also it has been a double-edged sword because I've always been a bit of a people pleaser as well. So yeah, that's something I'm working through at the moment, trying to learn how to say no to things. But yes, always say yes are my 3 words.
Brilliant. And I think you can just see with your personality, attitude, and that that go-getting attitude, that's how you create the things and the businesses that you have created, by going, seeking those opportunities and giving it a go.
Yeah. So yes, I always have been a pro risk person because I have the philosophy, and my granny always taught me this too, is that I would rather explore something or try something and fail than spend forever thinking, what if? Because also, every single time I've tried something and I, in inverted commas, fail, it hasn't been a failure at all. It's just been the universe knocking me onto the right path and giving me a really big life lesson. And all those times that I've, again, in inverted commas, failed, I have just gained so much perspective in that moment. So, yes, pro risk all the way.
Oh, that is a really brilliant just life lesson that you've given us all there as well. Question number 3. What is the closest you have come to death in your life?
Ooh, that's a deep question, isn't it?
I know.
um, should I say it's a really good question? Let's say close to death. Close to death. I guess there's like two scenarios. So the first one is when I was 18. I was due to go on a holiday to Australia with my then boyfriend, and I had a very, very large ovarian cyst called a dermoid, and it was the size of a 7-month baby. It was humongous in my stomach. Like, I was a size 6'8" everywhere apart from my stomach. I looked like I was 9 months pregnant, and they told me that I wasn't able to fly to Australia because the flight, if the cyst twisted, I would die ultimately if they weren't able to land instantly. So I couldn't fly on that trip. So I guess at that time I felt
Wow.
like I'd lost everything. It was devastating. It was his 21st birthday. It was for my 18th birthday. And if I'd have got on that plane, I could have come very close to death. But yeah, fortunately they caught it just in time. Like literally, I think it was 2 days before I flew,
Oh,
and I had
bless
the
you.
operation. But I'd say that's probably the closest. But yeah, I mean, again, that's another event that has had like a domino effect in my life and throughout my whole 20s after me and my partner at that time broke up. I spent my 20s believing that I wasn't able to have a child naturally.
Mm.
So went through a lot of kind of self-sabotage in those years in my 20s where I just threw myself into my career, and partying basically, because I didn't believe that, by getting into a relationship, I didn't believe they'd want me because I didn't think that
Mm.
I was able to have kids. But as an upshot of that, because I threw myself into my career, it's got me to where I am now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like I wouldn't change anything because I feel like it all just leads you to where you're supposed to be in the long run anyway.
Oh, that's a brilliant outlook. And the final question that I like to ask everybody is, if you could ask any person, dead or alive, a question, who would it be and what would you ask them?
Well, it's so interesting that you asked the question about my granny because, like, literally, like that's what who I was going to say. It would be my granny. Like, I would want to ask her any question, and it would just be any question. It could be anything. It could be, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite flavor ice cream? What's your best memory from your life? It could honestly be anything. It doesn't have to be that deep,
Mm.
but just to have the opportunity to just speak to her, and have her respond again would be everything.
Oh, oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is lovely.
Of
And tell
course.
our listeners how people can connect with you, how they can find out more about one another and perhaps get involved themselves if people who are keen to do some volunteering as well.
Yeah, definitely. So the URL is oneanother.io. So it's always being there for one another.io. So it's just, yeah, oneanother.io. And then you can log on and we have the links to our app downloads in there. So you can download our free app from any app store. We have Android and iOS versions of the app. And we also obviously have our corporate solution as well. So if you're interested in introducing that into your workplace, again, log onto the website. You can send an inquiry and we'll send an information pack out to you that you can share with your line manager and HR team.
Amazing. Well, I'll make sure I include the links in the show notes as well. And thank you so much for your time today, Lisa. Loved hearing about your journey. And yeah, I'm sure we could chat all day about a lot of the other things that you are involved in as well.
I'm sure we could. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Be sure to check out the show notes for more information on today's guests. And if really good conversations are your thing, hit subscribe and join us next time for more business journeys, insights and banter.